We are willing to offer you the job if you are willing to go to China. Yes, of course, I'm ready. Then congratulations, Mr. Abbott, you're hired. The company will arrange for your stay while you're there. Good luck in China. After a long job hunt, Caleb had finally landed a grand opportunity from the BII textile company as supervisor for 6 months at the new branch in China. He was more than happy, but there was one thing he was a little worried about: his girlfriend, Elle. Elle was working as an executive manager at one of the biggest fashion companies, Laurent. But all she really did was manage her boss's appointments, sort out a ton of clothes, and make his coffee 10 times a day. The only reason she worked there was in hope that something miraculous would happen and she'd begin her real career one day. Caleb and Elle met about 4 years ago, and although they both loved each other, the relationship had become quite strained, constantly picking on each other's faults. And these days, every fight would only trigger more fights based on memories and grudges of the previous 100 fights. But at the end, they usually got back together again. As soon as Elle got home, Caleb sat her down. I have good news. I got an awesome job. The company's sending me abroad. It's a great opportunity. Really? Where? Paris? Milan? New York? No, China. China? Does that mean we'll have a long-distance relationship? No, because the job is in your field. I got a position as a supervisor at the BII textile company. They have a clause for spouses to join, so let's get married and you can come with me. Maybe you can get a fashion designing opportunity there. But what about my job here? Come on, Elle, there are bigger opportunities waiting, and if not anything, it's 6 months. It'll be like a honeymoon for us. Elle gave it a minute. All she really did was make coffee at Laurent. This was obviously better than that. Okay, let's go. So Caleb and Elle had a simple court wedding, after which they flew off to their business trip / honeymoon to China. They landed in Wenzhou BII airport and booked into the fancy hotel that had been arranged for them by the company. Here is your Hunduntang and your Gongbao. Wow, Caleb, I can get used to this. I told you, this is only the beginning. Caleb and Elle were enjoying all the privileges at the hotel. The following morning, a local guide sent by the company arrived to take them to their lodge. Ni hao, Mr. Abbott. I'm Jae-eung. I've been sent to assist you during your stay. Your lodge and office is in Changyang. Are you ready to head out? Yes, let's go. The couple happily packed up after a relieving break at the hotel. But the moment they entered into a rural village and stopped in front of a bamboo cottage, utterly confused. You and Mrs. Abbott will be residing here. I've arranged some food for tonight, and I'll show you the way to the marketplace where you can buy all your necessities. Why don't you freshen up and I'll return later in the afternoon to escort you to the factory and the office. As Chae-young left, Caleb and Elle stepped into their bamboo cottage, absolutely puzzled. There was no technology whatsoever, there was no guarantee when the electricity would go out, and they were practically in the middle of nowhere. Later that afternoon, Chae-young returned to take Caleb to the office, which was almost 40 minutes away from the cottage, which itself was another cottage. It used to be home to a previous tenant. They left behind some furniture. We kept it aside in the storage room. It was a small room with a wooden desk, a single telephone, a chair, and some seating arrangements by the window, which was probably left by the previous tenant as well. And what did you say about the factory? Turned out the position at the company was actually at a factory about 20 minutes away from the office, where a ton of villagers worked to produce large quantities of the same t-shirt, which Caleb was supposed to keep track over before they were packed and exported to USA. Fashion designing opportunities? No. Now that they were here, Caleb thought it best that they cope. So he went to the market to buy some groceries. But he didn't recognize half the produce. He didn't know where to buy meat instead of a live chicken, and couldn't read or communicate with anyone. Nonetheless, he managed. What is that thing? It's a chicken. We didn't need a pet, Caleb. This is supposed to be dinner. Elle seemed to be the one who was struggling the most. What was she supposed to cook with? There were no non-stick fry pans, no blenders, or even a proper stove, and she didn't even know how to cook. Caleb, let's go back. Maybe we're making just a little more money here, but just consider our situation. I thought this was supposed to be like our honeymoon, and we've been boiling things and eating them. How are we supposed to live 6 months like this? And you work at a factory. This isn't a career. You could have done a lot better. Elle, this is a big opportunity for me. If we can successfully complete this, we'll get better offers in America. But you will never support me, will you? I never support you? I left everything and came to China for you. I've been having boiled potatoes for you. It's only been 2 days, and the only reason we're eating boiled food is because you don't know how to cook anything. What am I supposed to do, kill that annoying chicken that doesn't let me sleep and eat it? I brought everything for you, Elle, but you don't even know how to cook rice, for goodness sake. All you know how to do is use a microwave and make microwave pizza, you microwave woman. Caleb stormed out the house and headed on his way to the office. Elle could be so unrealistic. How was this marriage even going to work? He needed to clear his mind and calm down. He focused on his work, not that he had any. Soon, hours went by, and he hadn't even noticed when the rain started to pour. It was just before sunset when Caleb suddenly heard the front door open, and a young woman step inside, drying herself off. She was one of the indigenous women. Caleb was surprised by how beautiful she was. She had no makeup, her hair was simply combed down her back, but she was naturally beautiful. Ni hao. Ni hao. Caleb awkwardly tried to communicate with signs. Do you need help, Bonjour? The young woman chuckled. I can speak English. Oh, then hello, I'm Caleb. Is there anything I can help you with? I'm Meen. I used to live here. I left some of my things behind. Oh yes, they're in the storage room. All of a sudden, the rain began to pour even heavier. But I don't think you'll be able to go tonight in this weather. Well, let's hope it clears up soon. Why don't you take a seat inside? So, are you the new tenant? No, I'm the new office manager at the textile company here. I sit here all day, answer phone calls, and assist visitors, but so far, I've only received calls from scam advertisement companies that speak in Chinese so I don't understand anything, and you have been my first visitor. Mei Yin chuckled. You must be very busy. You're actually also one of the first people who I met speaks English. My father used to work with a British company. He often had to interact with them, so I've learned the language too. By the way, how are you planning to get home in this weather? I'm not. My wife and I actually had an argument. She can be so unreasonable sometimes. I've had enough. I'm staying here tonight. You men are so stubborn. She's all alone, probably missing you on this stormy night, and you're sitting here all grumpy. You'll be surprised by how stubborn she is. Caleb spent the evening talking to Mei Yin. She was a kind woman, and speaking to her got things off his mind. Are you getting hungry? 'Cause I'm getting hungry. Why don't I cook something for you? How will you cook here? Well, this used to be my house. I have some pots and utensils. And food? We'll manage. Come with me. Mei Yin took her umbrella and she led Caleb out the back door where she scavenged through the jungles and picked some mushrooms and even found some wild corn. Where did you find that? I told you, I know my way around here. Now help me and hold this umbrella. Caleb followed Mei Yin to a small shallow pond. There used to be shrimp here. She got her hands in the water and in no time she collected a few shrimp into a leaf. They ran back through the storm, back to the cottage, where Caleb watched Meen start a fire and cook a soup in an earthen pot. They sat by the patio looking out into the rain while Meen served them both. Here you go. The aroma was mesmerizing. But when Meen sprinkled something else on top, it tasted even better than it already was. What was that? A secret ingredient. Wow, you're like the perfect woman. The way you improvised, cooked this amazing meal, and you're also very beautiful. Well, sometimes even a perfect woman isn't good enough. That night, Caleb and Meen spoke until he didn't realize when he had fallen asleep. When he woke up, it was morning. Meen had left, but she hadn't taken any of her things. Caleb needed to get to the factory, but before that, he needed to take a trip home. Caleb, where were you? You didn't have dinner last night, did you? I made food for you. Caleb looked at the rice and potatoes on the table and sneered. I ate already. You ate? How did you make food? You don't have to worry about me. I had food. I couldn't come back because of the weather. I'm getting late. I have to get to the factory. After inspecting everything at the factory, Caleb returned to his office sometime late in the afternoon. He sat down remembering the previous night. He actually wished to meet Meen again. Surprisingly, today, sometime after sunset, Meen showed up. Meen, I was hoping you would come. And I knew, you stubborn man, you didn't go back home to your wife, did you? Well, you didn't take your things this morning. If I took my stuff, there wouldn't have been any excuse to come back. Caleb chuckled as Meen placed her bag on the table and took out a few boxes. You probably haven't eaten anything all day. I brought dinner for you. All of a sudden, the lights went off. Don't worry, I got it. Meen lit a lantern as the two sat down by the patio again. A soothing gust of wind passed through the cottage. I wish it was raining. I really enjoyed last night. Caleb didn't return home again that night. He enjoyed spending time with Meen so much, and the foods she cooked for him were absolutely amazing. She returned to meet him every evening for the following days. When 2 days had passed since Caleb had returned home, Elle started to get a little worried and suspicious, so she called Cheung. Cheung, Mr. Abbott hasn't returned home in 2 days, and he was looking a little unwell last time I saw him. Are there any arrangements for food at the office? The previous tenant used to cook, so there are utensils and pots, but there's no one to cook there. Had Caleb been cooking himself? Elle decided to take a trip to the office that afternoon. But when she got there, the office was empty. Caleb was still at the factory. But what was surprising was the condition of his office. Everything was a mess. Had Caleb been living here for the past few days like this? Elle thought she cleaned things up and began searching around the cottage. When she stepped into the storage room, there she found an earthen pot set over a stove and some old furniture. So Caleb had been cooking with this. But it was all dry. There was no sign he had cooked anything. Elle walked in, looking through everything, when she removed a cloth from one of the furniture and stopped to look at a painting of a woman. All of a sudden, she heard the door outside. Caleb, what happened to you? How did you lose so much weight? You look sick. I'm doing fine. What are you doing here? I came to check up on you. You haven't been home in days. I told you, you don't have to worry about me. Go back home. Caleb, why are you being like this? I'm sorry about what happened. Go from here, Elle. She'll be here anytime. She? Who? Meen. Elle fell silent. Was he cheating on her? She didn't know what to say and simply ran out the office. On her way back home, she happened to spot Jae-ung. "Ma'am, you're here?" "Jae-ung, there's something I need to speak to you about." "Yes, ma'am?" "Do you know of a woman named Meen and where she lives?" "Meen, she was the previous tenant at the office cottage, but she passed away almost 10 years ago." People in this village all knew her. She was the most beautiful of the women. They called her the perfect woman. She was hardworking, she knew how to cook good food, and she had natural beauty. She used to live there on her own and worked a simple job. Over the years, she saved up little money and met someone. They decided to get married, but the day of the wedding, the groom had run away. That's when Meen locked herself in the cottage. She went into depression. Her family members came to counsel her, but she didn't listen to anyone. And eventually, she starved herself to death. It was truly tragic. Everyone still remembers her in this village. Previous tenant, her things were in the storage room. Yes. And that painting. That was a painting of Meen, the only portrait that remains of her. When Elle heard of Meen's story, she suddenly became panicked. She realized what happened to Caleb. He wasn't in his senses. He had been starving himself. When night fell, Meen came to visit Caleb again. They sat down in the candlelight to have dinner together. "Do you like it? It's my special recipe." "It's wonderful, Meen." Caleb stared into her eyes as they enjoyed the food together. When suddenly, the door to the room burst open, and there stood Elle. "Caleb, what are you doing?" "What am I doing? What do you mean, what am I doing?" Seeing the shock on Elle's face, Caleb turned back to Meen. But she wasn't there. He looked down at the food. A bowl of dirt. Dirt on his hands. Dirt in his mouth. "Elle, I'm not feeling well." Elle rushed to hold Caleb as he collapsed to the ground. "Caleb, wake up! Caleb!" She called for help immediately and had Jae-ung take Caleb back to their cottage. "Let's go, ma'am. Just give me 1 minute." Elle still had one thing to do. She went into the storage and took out the painting. This had to go. Caleb woke up back home. He turned to see Elle bringing a bowl of chicken soup to him. "How are you feeling?" "Much better. I'm really sorry for everything. I almost lost you because of my stubbornness. I promise, I'll try to be a perfect wife." "You don't have to try. You are my perfect wife." Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.